I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
I tend the tale of musicals with cheese, a podcast where Andrew likes musical theater. I show him new shows every week, and then he somehow doesn't enjoy them. That's the show we're currently on. The podcast of musicals with cheese.
You kind of messed it up at the end, I think.
I did.
Melody kind of fell out. You gave it your best. I'll put a karaoke version under it, and we'll see how bad it sounds.
Oh, and in case you haven't figured it out, we're repiloting. Do you know what that's the term that they give?
Repiloting.
Yeah, in the TV industry, when they basically want to make a new jumping on point for their show, like when Futurama gets canceled and brought back, and then canceled and brought back, and then canceled and brought back again, you have to kind of do a new pilot. And they often just recreate the original pilot with different vibes because that's the best you can do. Doctor Who's done it basically every time there's a new Doctor. You kind of have to repilot. And in this case, we are doing it because we are redoing our first episode, more or less.
We're doing it again with more. In fact, you could say it's a revival of sorts.
Oh, yes, this is the revival of our first episode of Musicals with Cheese. When we were much less good at what we did, but also much more edgy and douchey.
Yeah. So, like, worse in every way.
Yeah, we're going to sanitize the edges, make sure that no one's going to get offended, and add a bunch of dance numbers, where there didn't need to be any. On that note, in case you haven't picked up what we're throwing down, this week we are talking about Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Again, cue the music.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. His skin was pale and his eye was odd. He shaved the faces of gentlemen who never thereafter were heard of again. He trod a path that few have trod, did Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, is a musical with a book by Hugh Wheeler and music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, based on Sweeney Todd by Christopher Bond. The original production premiered off-Broadway at the Eris Theater on March 1st, 1979, and closed June 29, 1980, after 557 performances and 19 previews. The 2023 revival, which is mostly what our frame of reference is going to be today, of the musical, began previews on February 26th and opened March 26th of 2023 at the Lunfontaine Theater, starring Josh Groban as Sweeney Todd, Annalee Ashford as Mrs. Lovett, Jordan Fisher as Anthony, Gaten Matarazzo as Tobias, Maria Bilbao as Joanna, Jamie Jackson as Judge Turpin, Ruthie Ann Miles as the Beggar Woman, John Rapson as Beetle Banford, and Nicholas Christopher as Pirelli. The production is directed by Thomas Kail with orchestrations by Jonathan Tunick, musical supervision by Alex Lacamoire, and choreography by Stephen Hoggett. The production began a workshop 3 days after Sondheim's death that he had been planning to attend, and it had a budget of $14 million and a cast of 26 and an orchestra of 27. They are bringing back the original orchestrations, which they decidedly did not do in the 2005 revival, which is a different story. The plot of Sweeney Todd is, after 15 years in exile, Sweeney Todd, an unsettling man with a mysterious past, arrives in a dark and gritty London, hungry for vengeance against the judge who destroyed his life. Todd joins forces with Mrs. Lovett, the unhinged proprietress of a failing pie shop, and together they develop a spine-tingling plot to exact revenge. When the lights go down and the curtain goes up, you won't dare to look away. So, Andrew and I both saw the recent 2023 revival of Sweeney Todd in New York City on different times.
Beautiful, smoggy, smoky, yellow New York City.
It's like someone urinated all over the city today.
The sky is yellow. It's the city on fire, in fact.
Yeah, the rats are on the street, and the lunatics yelling at the street. It is the end of the world, yes. Literally, Sweeney Todd predicted what New York was going to look like. What did you think of Sweeney Todd? For many years that we've done this podcast, what have we been doing? 5 years this September now?
Yeah.
My God, that's half a decade. Fucking long.
We're getting old.
We really are. We're going to be coming up on our 30s soon. We were just little babies when we started this show. But ever since we started, you said Sweeney Todd, we started too high and nothing has touched it since.
Yeah, it's still sort of true. It's still...
Oh, sort of.
Well, I think there's other shows that I would put on a similar level now. I would probably put, like, Les Mis is really good. I really enjoyed Hadestown. There's quite a few, but
yeah,
it's still, like, Sweeney Todd is just fucking masterful, It's like, how do you start there and then it's all downhill, right?
From when we first did our first podcast, our first official episode on of Musicals with Cheese, we were not even really a podcast yet. We were kind of just a series of weird YouTube videos. I don't even think we introduced ourselves as Musicals with Cheese in that episode.
I don't think we did.
We did use cheese ratings, though. So your opinion on it hasn't really changed over the years. Like, have you revisited it since? Like, on your own, outside of the show?
I haven't watched the stage one. I've watched the movie, like, one other time, I think.
How well is the movie aged, in your opinion? Because I feel like this recent revival does take a few cues from the movie.
A few. Honestly, I think the movie, while still being decent, kind of fumbles the ball a little bit. Like, it just, it doesn't quite live up tone-wise to what the stage show does. And actually, after watching the revival, I was thinking about the movie and just... It was such a bad choice to have, God, what the fuck is the guy's name? Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
It was such a bad choice to have Tim Burton direct, in my opinion. He doesn't fit the genre of movie that this needs to be. They should have gotten a horror director to do it, is my opinion.
Do you know who was almost the director of Sweeney Todd before Tim Burton? Before Tim Burton signed on.
I don't, but I'm hoping it was Tobe Hooper.
No, Tobe Hooper would have made a wild choice. It was Sam Mendes.
Who is Sam Mendes? Give me the rundown.
He is a director who got his start on the stage, so he's kind of like a John Marshall type. He directed American Beauty, Road to Perdition, Revolutionary Road, Skyfall, Spectre, and 1917 are the big ones. Not a single horror movie in there.
No. I think they probably didn't want a horror director at all.
No, they did not.
Because it's a musical, I guess, but watching the stage one, it's like there's so many good horror moments in here. Yes. How do you not get a horror director to make this movie? And I feel like that's why they fumbled it so bad in like Tim Burton's style. And I know some normies are going to be like, well, Tim Burton does make horror movies. Like, no, he doesn't. He makes goth movies.
No, he doesn't.
He like
the closest thing to a horror movie is Sweeney Todd. The second closest thing is Sleepy Hollow. And I think Sleepy Hollow fucks. I think that movie's fun. That's not a horror movie.
I'm not saying his movies are necessarily bad. I just don't think they're horror movies.
Sleepy Hollow is basically a slasher movie, but every quote-unquote kill is a joke.
They kind of do a similar thing in Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, which works for that movie. But you know who Sam Mendes' first choice for Sweeney Todd was going to be?
I don't think I could guess in a million years.
Gary Oldman. And I'm just no, thank you.
He might not have done that bad of a job, but who's gonna sing the songs?
But the one choice that he did have that I was kind of into, he wanted Toni Collette to play Mrs. Lovett, and I think that is an inspired choice and would have been incredible.
We'll never get a good Sweeney Todd movie. It just won't happen.
No, I think they were almost there because I think I talked about this in our first episode. John Logan's original script took a throwaway line that always kind of confused me in the stage version where he's like, I'm haunted by the shadows everywhere, ghosts, and meaning to imply like the chorus.
Yeah.
And they were going to literalize that with Christopher Lee playing basically the person saying, to tell the tale of Sweeney Todd. And as Sweeney Todd killed people, that choir would get bigger and bigger with the people he's murdered until he eventually joined it at the end.
That's not even a horrible idea.
But they were planning to shoot it. Christopher Lee recorded it. Anthony Stewart Head is still in the movie. He was supposed to be like a part of that choir. and just has like a one-line role in the movie. And then Johnny Depp's daughter got really sick, and they had to shoot around him, so they took all that material and had to cut it and move other stuff around because Johnny Depp couldn't be on set to shoot that stuff.
Jeez.
But basically, every time Sweeney Todd was going to kill someone, he would look in the mirror and he would see a man with a slit throat all standing behind him, singing at him. Like, really stylistically cool shit for a movie like this. I would have been so into that.
It's that, and there's an element that I want the movie to fill, which is like this Victorian horror where it's like candle lit and it's extremely dark, and the part where Toby gets locked in the cellar, that should be so claustrophobic. But when you watch the Tim Burton one, it just doesn't feel. There's no tension there. There's nothing.
No, there's nothing. Let's talk about this show in general. I think it's got a perfect structure. I think the overall feel of it. I fell in love with this show, the George Hearn, Patti LuPone production, as well as the George Hearn, Angela Lansbury production. But since we've recorded it, I have found a newfound affection from the original cast album.
Really?
Which was something I didn't dive into as much. And I think Len Cariou might be my favorite Sweeney Todd.
The original.
Because in audio alone, yes, the original. In audio alone, he conveys the fear, like he sounds unhinged but subtle.
These are my friends. See how they glisten. See this one shine. How he smiles in the light. My friend, my faithful friend.
Because George Hearn is big and screaming, and Len Cariou is like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. I guess that's what's gonna happen. Like, even his, and you believe him, and it's like a calm and like psychopathic feel to it, and it's like a less is more performance, which I think is what Johnny Depp was going for, and it just doesn't work.
I think Sweeney Todd as a character, my impression of him is he's very like apathetic in a way. Like he's one-minded. He only cares about one thing. And he's a shell. Everything else he's just completely apathetic to. So that's why you have these very big emotional numbers like Epiphany, but at the same time he's like completely emotionless in almost everything else he does. So it's interesting.
But he's like analytical about his own emotions, specifically in the song Joanna, where he's like, I guess I'll think of you, I guess, until the day I die, but I miss you less and less as every day goes by.
Because he doesn't care. Actually care about her anymore. All he cares about now is revenge. Like
the idea of her and what could have been, as opposed to like an actual human being.
He doesn't actually care, and I mean, he literally sees her later on in the show and tries to kill her. Doesn't even recognize her, you know?
No. But that's kind of my problem with Josh Groban's performance. And I see what he's doing. I can tell he's done his research. Like, I don't want to undersell. Like, he has a voice of an angel. He is definitely trying to play the scary, but it just doesn't land because he seems a little too smiley.
I think he has, and I honestly, me personally, I think he did a decent job. I don't think he really did that bad.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem is that he is like this famous star who's kind of well known for being like a wholesome guy who just
golden retriever energy.
Yeah. So it's kind of difficult to see him in the role, but I do think for the most part he sells the bigger moments that are needed. But
okay, let me rank them in my own weird way. So I love all three Broadway Sweeneys. All of them I think are fantastic in their own way and have brought something new to the role. Len Cariou obviously is my favorite. Michael Cerveris is a darker, much creepier, like much more Hammer horror-y version of Sweeney.
Like a Christopher Lee Dracula type, or
yes, like almost like he talks like this and every word gets its moment. But he also is the most sarcastic and frustrated Sweeney and most violent Sweeney.
I could see that as a performance, though. I could see that as a choice. Like having him,
I really liked it.
having him be more into it. Like I could see it. The thing is, he's an open character, I think, because he doesn't have very much going on other than just I want revenge and I hate everything. So you could really play that a lot of different ways.
That's not to say I haven't seen some Sweeney Todds I really, really disliked. Two that come to my mind. Burnt Turfel. He's a great voice. Fantastic opera singer. Dog shit actor. And he was in the Emma Thompson production, and he's just giving nothing.
Oh.
Give nothing to us, baby. And then you've got, like, on the opposite side of the gradient, Michael Ball, who I have a weird opinion here. I don't think Sweeney Todd should have a British accent. I think it's distracting when he does.
Really?
Sincerely.
I mean, yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've seen one where they have a real British accent.
Aside from Johnny Depp in the movie where it's still a little distracting.
Yeah, but even it's kind of a bullshit British accent. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's always been like a tradition where Mrs. Lovett will have a real British accent, but Sweeney will not. And I don't know why that is the choice, but like Michael Ball's British accent kind of kills, like it feels like a joke to me.
All this running and shouting. What is it now, dear?
I had him and
I know the sailor burst in. I saw them both running down the street and I said to myself, well, that's fat enough.
I had him. His throat was bare beneath my hand.
There, dear, don't fret.
No, I had him. His throat was there. Now he'll never come again.
That's why I really appreciate that the first tweet I made when I heard that preview set started was like, does Josh Groban do a British accent or do they keep him American? I was like, because I feel like I'll be very distracted if he does a British accent.
Well, thankfully he does not. So that keeps him out of that, I guess your F tier here.
Yeah, so those two are my F tier. I would put Josh Groban in B, and I would put Len Cariou and Michael Cerveris in A for two different reasons. My problems with Josh Groban is he's not scary, but that almost makes the parts where he is just slitting throats a little bit more interesting. Like
He's so like just matter of fact about it and doesn't try to like play like a slasher villain in any way. He's just like, no. I just kill people.
He's just a guy. And I kind of appreciated that he's just kind of a dude. And he puts jokes into his lines. I feel like he's just doing that to match the energy of Annalee Ashford. But he also got the biggest laugh out of me in the entire show, which is during By the Sea. She does like this big like hoo-hoo with her hands. And then when he sees it coming again, he ducks. And I thought that was really funny. And that was wonderful.
Honestly, I do think the revival did a lot of really good things that made it memorable for me and was a good experience overall.
How'd you like the staging? Because we don't have like the big center box in the middle. That's the pie shop. It's more traditionally staged.
I didn't mind the staging. The only problem I had, and I think this is a problem probably a lot of people would have had, if you're sitting near the back, you can't see anything going on the freaking balcony they have on stage there. Which, fair enough. But,
I might say the mezzanine's a better choice for seating than the orchestra, to be honest.
Yeah, it almost just feels like you could have just lowered that balcony a little bit and it would have been visible for more people. It's maybe just a little higher than it needs to be, but it's hard to say, I guess. I'm not a person that does staging for theater, so.
So this is directed by Thomas Kail, who also directed Hamilton. And you can tell
there is quite a bit of the like Hamilton style dancing.
I fucking hated every bit of dancing in this show. I really did not like the dancing in the show at all.
I didn't really hate it that much because most of it is relatively subtle and it's like group dancing type. Like, I don't know. It wasn't too bad for me.
Like the Poor Thing ballet is one thing, and I didn't like that really. And you probably didn't see that because it was on the balcony. But there's like this whole ballet with Lucy and
I
like
could
the
see
judge
some of
and
it.
all that.
I could see like you could see some of it on the balcony. It's just what you couldn't see everything. So it's like you're kind of like tilting your head down. You're like,
But when the ghosts are doing the El Kanama dance while they're singing about Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barbara Fleet Street, and turning their head on every movement.
I mean, that song's a little jumpy to begin with. I think that I think that it's interesting. Maybe it's not a choice everyone will like, but I think it's not like a objectively bad choice. It's just something that's different, and I don't hate it.
I don't think every musical needs dancing, and Sweeney Todd feels like a very stationary
you just kind of
musical.
fucking hate dancing. I mean, let's be real here. Every single time dancing comes
always.
up, you're always like,
"Oh, you
liked the dancing in this show. What's wrong with you?" Like, come on, Jess. It's okay to have people try to entertain you on stage, you know?
Yes.
They can use their whole body to do it as well.
You can use your whole body to perform. You don't need to have Toby doing flips and laying down and being lifted into the air like an angel because he's singing about a pie, though.
Oh, that part was fun, though.
You don't need people popping and locking while singing about slitting throats.
I feel like the way that they were moving was interesting enough and kind of like frightening, you know, where it's like the horror movements, you know what I'm saying? Where like you have the it monster move at a weird frame rate or some shit, so it looks weird. You know what I'm talking about?
I guess. I think dancing takes you out of the fear, to be honest. I feel like outside of the Poor Thing ballet, it really didn't work for me.
That is fine. They did stop dancing near the end because it started getting pretty scary, so...
Like, it's one thing to have a dance during a little priest, like a little jig or whatever, but I
hate dancing.
I'm not a fan of it.
You just hate dancing?
I don't always hate dancing.
Name one dance that you like.
I like the Carousel ballet in the second half of Carousel.
Yeah, that's the only part of that show that you do like.
No, go check that episode.
Check that episode,
I disagree. In Brent's musical, I really like console dances.
What's your thought on Purelli being an Irish, Italian, Asian man?
I think it's great.
I also agree. I think that it's amazing. I feel like it's like it adds another layer to the whole thing.
I think it's and he's also the standby for Sweeney Todd.
Oh, is he?
If Josh Groban steps out, he steps in and plays Sweeney. So he has to have a very versatile voice.
Can you imagine how fucking pissed people would be when Josh Groban doesn't walk on stage, though?
Did they scream when he walked on stage?
Yeah, of course they did.
At your performance.
Are you kidding me? It was like he had to stop the song for like 5 seconds to wait for the people
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
I literally couldn't hear his first line.
Yeah, never.
I don't even know why he bothers to sing it.
I like Pirelli. You know who was... I was talking to Miranda after we left. You know who was secretly like one of my favorite parts of the show?
Who?
The Beetle. The Beetle took that role and played it so differently.
The Beetle did really well. I already kind of am a fan of the really weird, dumb songs at the end where he sings about the 12 bells or whatever.
You've never heard those before.
Well, I've heard the song, but I don't think I've seen... I don't know.
Yeah, because it was in the original Broadway recording.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it, but I've seen it now. I really like how they do
Amazing.
it. I think that whole section there's a lot of tension to that, even though it's a really silly like thing, just because of the staging with Toby being in the creepy cellar, you know. But the Beatles, amazing.
He plays it so differently than any other version. He plays everything for the comedy, but it's still very threatening. And the biggest laugh of the night for the audience is when he says the winner is Todd, because he spits it out so quickly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's pretty obvious who won.
And it was just like, the winner is Todd. And it's just like the song ends. And it's not like the other ones where it's like, the winner is Todd. It's just like very matter of fact. And of course, he has this incredible voice that sings the higher than high. But if we're talking about villains, there is one thing that I liked the movie that it did, and nothing has done it since, I don't believe. I don't like how old and doddering they made the judge.
Yeah,
in this production.
Yeah, it makes him
not a threat.
Yeah, it makes him seem less threatening. It's almost like just this dumb old man, you know. We're
this weird, creepy old guy.
Yeah, I think I like how explicit they are that he's definitely just grooming fucking Joanna though, and is kind of fucked up.
But I kind of like in the Tim Burton movie that Alan Rickman he's kind of sexy, but kind of dangerous and more of a contemporary of Todd's than someone significantly older. Like you could see them knowing and respecting each other in real society and having that kind of vibe to each other. Whereas here I'm like, this man and Josh Groban would not talk to each other. They would not spend time with each other. They are wholly different.
I do think part of it, though, is the judge is older because, I mean, there is this angle of he essentially is grooming all of these girls.
Yes.
And so he has to have this position of authority over them, but also it would make sense if he was also older than them as well. But I suppose he doesn't have to be.
I mean, we got to talk about Anthony Joanna, which is probably the weakest part of most productions, but goddamn, if Jordan Fisher doesn't bring a lot of like genuine like sincerity and youthful energy to Anthony, and jokes, lots of jokes that I didn't see were there, but not in the same like Ken doll way as the Broadway version.
Was it just me? I don't know if you noticed this or if this is something they do in all the productions and I'm just I missed it. Did they let Joanna actually do something by having her grab the gun and shoot the guy?
Yes, that has always been in
That's
every
always
production.
been there. Okay. I wasn't sure. That is good though.
But my favorite part is in the original Broadway production, Sweeney Todd gives Anthony the gun. He's like, kill if you need to. And he just grabs it like a little boy. And he's like, I'll kill 100 guards if it means setting Joanna free. And then when he gets in there, he's like, I can't do it. And then Joanna has to shoot him.
He's a little
Jordan
too
Fisher,
he's too like high-minded or whatever. He's too romantic is what it is. He thinks it's a romantic thing to do to kill to save the girl, but then when he's confronted with actually killing someone, he can't.
But Jordan Fisher plays it much more like, yeah, I'll kill people totally. That's totally something I'll do. And no one, like from the vibe, like, nah, that ain't his vibe. I really like Joanna. She's much more ticky in this version than she is in any other production. Like she's like banging on her head and like she's more of a human being with like normal traits rather than an object to be held by Turpin, Anthony, and Sweeney.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough role because the place that she's put in is that she is basically just an object to 3 different characters that are all men. So it's like, what exactly do you do to fix that? I think the way the character is performed can help though.
Mm-hmm. That being said, I love those two. They were great. Stranger Things boy as Toby.
He did fine.
He did fine. Yeah. Moving on.
I wasn't hugely impressed, but I also like there was nothing where I was like, he really fucked that up.
I was pretty impressed just because, like it's not an easy role to play.
I mean, I guess we should talk about the ending because I mean that is an important part for Toby to nail. What did you think?
I thought it was fine. Like that ending can be accidentally comedic, and he played it really, really well. Honestly, that's probably where he's shown. What?
You don't want the audience to laugh there.
Yeah. And the lines are kind of ridiculous and really hard to deliver.
Well, yeah, because it's very easy to sell it as a silly rather than frightening.
Yeah.
If you don't have the audience, like, if you don't sell it right, really.
And, like, it's almost a cruel joke when everyone just runs in as he's slitting Sweeney Todd's throat, surrounded by, like, 5 other dead bodies. Like, you almost want to laugh, and it's impressive that you don't. But I think we all know who the MVP here is. And that's Annalee Ashford as Mrs. Lovett.
Yeah. I mean, Mrs. Lovett is a character that kind of sells the whole show in a lot of ways because she's the one that has the most energy and is the most, she's...
has the most solos.
She's also just the most evil as well. Like, just directly, I would say.
Deceptively.
Yeah, like Sweeney Todd is the obvious, like, well, he's a murderer, but, like, he wouldn't even be the murderer he is if she wasn't just encouraging him.
And the fact that I was worried because I'm like, Annalee Ashford's pretty young. You feel every ounce of it. And it's used to the benefit of her specific performance. Like, she's a much more sexual Mrs. Lovett, much more actively horny for Sweeney Todd than any of the other ones. I'd say where all the other ones were very horny for him, this one is much more like, I want to fuck you.
Well, she's very blatant
Please
about it.
fuck me.
It's blatant to the point where it's like, damn, Sweeney is he really doesn't want to fuck her. Like the fact that she's this like upfront about it and he's still so apathetic. Like he really has no interest whatsoever.
I disagree. I feel like this is the one where they kind of have the most, at least romantic chemistry. Not romantic, like friendship chemistry. Like I feel like he actually likes her a bit in this.
Maybe friendship, but he definitely does not want a romantic relationship.
No, but I do believe they've had sex. Specifically about like how intimate they get during by the sea, where she's like putting his feet on her and he's accepting her feet on him and like things like that. I'm like, okay, there's something there. And the fact that she's always going down by his crotch and he doesn't seem to have an issue with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he does make her pretty hot. So.
Yes, I caught it. She does find a lot of jokes where there weren't previously jokes, which I appreciated. Especially like Worst Pies in London. There are moments where you are given stage directions in the music, the bump, 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 and she is finding new things to do with her body for them. Like instead of just smacking a roach, she does a full body dive for a roach and then gets back up on the next beat, and it's pretty fun to watch.
That's already a difficult song to perform, so it's impressive that she is like diving on the floor and still able to keep going.
And yeah, you did have a concern when mishearing, I believe, when you saw it.
I did have a mishearing. I didn't really think much of it because I was pretty sure I just misheard something. But when she took the knives out at first, I thought she said, I could have sold these on eBay for a pretty penny. And I was like, what? Why would you slip that in there? That's really dumb. And it took me out for like a second, but I was like, I probably just misheard it. She didn't say that.
I could have sold them. Cocked in the head, wasn't I?
Yeah, I don't know how I heard it that way. I think the audience was like clapping or something when she was doing it. I don't know.
Yeah. She also does like this little like handstand while she's up there, or pull up thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun little things. So she's always finding a new joke in a scene. Including like a little priest. She would deliver the joke differently than everyone else has previously. And as far as I'm concerned, she's probably my favorite Mrs. Lovett
really?
to ever play the role.
Better than
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because Lansbury does it too fast. Patti LuPone's accent is terrible, and a lot of them don't really have jokes. So what else? Like among the three, she's the number one. The set was fine, minimalist. I like minimalist for this show. I think the more vague we can get, the better off it'll be.
I think the tower that they have is cool. That like when it turns, it has the like the flap where the people come out. That was a pretty cool aspect of it. Yeah, it's very basic though. There's really not much to it.
Yeah, there's not like a big set surprise or anything like that.
No,
like you're getting what you're getting,
which is fine. I do like the big oven. I think the part where he
the big oven is really cool.
Part where he throws her in there was pretty brutal. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. I judge my Sweeney Todd like relationships is whether or not Mrs. Lovett knows she's going to die before she dies. There are sometimes you can play it where she's like totally like, oh great, yeah, we're gonna be all right, and sometimes she's like, yep, I'm about to die, aren't I?
Which one would you put this in?
I think I put it right in the middle because I think she realizes it, like she's happy, and then it just goes right in the last line. Just keep living it. Oh God, that's when she made the realization. Is when she's like, oh, I see what you're doing. Oh fuck. Oh fuck.
Yeah, and then she jumped into the flames.
I do want to bring this up because I had a slightly different performer than you did. All right, this is our favorite segment where we compare our opinions to those of the real theater critics over on Letterboxd.com. All right, Andrew.
So this is the movie?
This is for the movie and the Broadway recording.
Oh, the Broadway recording has some too. Okay.
So it's a good mix. Are you ready? So these are real Letterboxd review, and Andrew has to tell me just based on the review alone whether they are 1 star or a 5 star. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Shaking ass.
Shaking ass. That's a 5 star.
That is correct.
Hell yeah.
Shit barber gives man dumb dead trims blood.
You what now? You want to repeat that? Give shit dead man did blood?
No. Shit barber, gives mandem dead trims blood.
Uh-huh. Okay. That's a 1 star, I think.
That is correct. This isn't even fictional. British people just be like that.
You know, I actually say this a lot. British people do often kill people just for fun. Okay, yeah, 5 stars, 5 stars.
That is 1 star.
Motherfucker.
This movie walks so Les Miserable could ... walk slightly faster.
Yeesh. That seems like this person has terrible taste. They think the Les Mis movie is better than the Sweeney Todd movie.
No, it just walks faster.
Oh, it walks faster. Okay. I'm gonna give it a 5 star though. It sounds like they liked it.
That is a 1 star. Honestly, I forgive Mrs. Lovett. She's too hot.
She is too hot. Are they doing the pun? 5 stars. 5 stars with a pun. Come on, give me the 5.
That is a 5 star.
Yes. Okay.
Family Feud audience voice. Slit that throat.
I mean, it's. It sounds like they liked it because this is a joke about they liked it, but these are always so fucking weird. I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna go against my better judgment.
That was a 5.
Motherfucker.
He kills them.
He certainly does. 1 star. 1 star.
That is correct. And last
Okay.
one. Sondheim. ... You crazy son of a bitch.
You crazy bastard! You did it again. 5
Wrote a musical.
5 stars. 5 stars.
That is correct. And that ends previews for today.
I think I did okay. I think I missed a couple, but
It's all right. It's a losing game.
I think I hit more than I lost.
I think that's accurate. All right. You want to get back to the show?
I do.
All right. Let's go into a mid-show. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Patreon's this beautiful place where you can get a lot of cool shit. You get the video episodes. If you liked last week's episode and you want like 3 extra hours, you can check out the full extended conversation with Brent about Khan. Also, you get commentaries, you get extra bonus podcasts as well. I think it's this upcoming Saturday, June 17th. You can join us for a Patreon meetup where you get to hang out with us. We're going to play some games. We're going to have a good fucking time. And if you're not there, you're not cool. Because all the cool people are going to be there. And we might even get a special guest, where you can meet one of our people and you can ask them questions like, hey, what's your favorite Sweeney Todd song? And they'll be like, I'm not answering you. But Andrew, who's currently supporting us on Patreon?
Our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C., Scoot in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Jessica T., Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Chris Marcotte, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Leela RJ Noriga, Bjorn Hermans, Toriana Frazier, Sammy the Most Lopez, Liana Morton, Haley Blazier, Cinemageddon Reviews, Villainous Miss, Sophina Ali, The Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie Wargle, Eliza Erdman, Anna Loskatova, Sarah Den Blaker, Evan Ball, Zachary Torres, Aurora Marasso, Mara Forloin, Captain Rodtastic, Lisa L., Nobody, What Did Boris Say, Puffy Boy, Summer, Julia Hardy, Jay Kusia, and Caitlin Bridgman.
They all give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. If you'd like to join them in supporting us and get tons of fun perks, come join us over there on Patreon. Also, Andrew, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to take a look at one of the very nice reviews we just got on the Apple Podcast app.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, we will read it. And be able to, give our own impression of what you think of our show. This is from Vrana Cat, Vrana Cat. Are you ready, Andrew?
I am ready.
The title is Silly Yet Informative.
Okay.
I don't disagree so far. This is the only musical podcast I listen to. The only one. It's equal parts caring and irreverent in a way that makes it very approachable to people like me who love the idea of musical theater, but mostly just listen to the same cast albums from their childhood with very little being added to the rotation. I feel that. I've been listening for years, and I feel like it's made me much more fond of musical theater as an art form. Plus, one of their ads told me about a performance of The Secret Garden I was able to get tickets to, and I'd literally been wanting to go see that show for about 30 years. Cheers, guys, and keep up the good work.
That was very nice.
I find that very funny because they gave us a 4 stars out of 5, so we still aren't perfect.
You know,
we still have some work to do.
I actually completely agree. I don't think we're perfect. I think we do have more work to do, but
I do too.
I still think that was a very nice review. So,
do we agree with that review?
yes.
Let's get back to the show. So the Ballad of Sweeney Todd is like one of the best opening scenes of all time, right?
Swing your razor wide, swinging over to the skies. Freely flows the blood of those who mourn us.
I don't know. There was a little bit of dancing, so kind of really took me out of it.
Shut the fuck up.
It's good. I really like how, one, that it keeps coming back, and I like how intense it gets. Like, the harmonies are so, like, fucked, you know?
Yeah. And it's the Dies Irae backwards.
I think what this show does that, and we've covered other shows that I would consider horror musicals. I mean, like Dracula and Jekyll and
Tends to
Hyde,
Vampire.
and all that kind of stuff. But like, what this does that none of those do is the score itself is actually frightening. It feels like a horror movie score in places where not every single song. Obviously, there are some songs that are just like goofier or comedy songs. But when it wants to be scary, it has like actual really dissident sounding harmonies and really like loud piercing type sounds that you just don't really see in a lot of other musicals, that even ones that are trying to be scary or trying to be horror.
So Sweeney Todd, you bring that up, but it is like the one time Sondheim was inspired by actual film scores as opposed to like other, pieces of music. He was really trying to replicate film score, especially in horror films. Trying to remember, there's like a very specific film that he was basing it around. He really tried to integrate into this, and he's never done that since. I guess he won't ever do it again, but he'd never tried that again after Sweeney Todd, and I found that fascinating. And it makes this score really stand out.
It's unique in even Sondheim scores, I think. It doesn't, not that it doesn't sound like Sondheim, but it doesn't sound like a lot of his other stuff.
I think the closest is probably Passion.
Probably, but even that just, it doesn't, this has such a different tone, and it's, I think it's his best because of it. I don't know.
I mean, how can you not? This is like so different from any other musical.
I'm biased as all hell because I love horror movie scores. I just listen to that shit, like just straight up. And this just sounds like it. So it's right up my alley.
I mean, what other horror scores would you compare this to? Like, it doesn't quite sound like John Carpenter or like Philip Glass or anything like that.
No.
Like Bernstein or not Bernstein.
Some of like the
Goldsmith,
fast, like
maybe?
the fast kind of violins type stuff. I mean, that's like Friday the 13th type stuff,
Yeah.
But that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what I do wonder what he was trying to imitate or was inspired by.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that source. I know it was like some film that no one's really heard of. That it's like, he's a big movie buff and he watches very obscure films. Maybe one day we'll cover Last of Sheila, the one movie he ever wrote.
Really? Is it bad?
It's good. Like it's nothing wrong with it. I don't love it. It does it, but that's a problem with the way it was directed, less than his script. Like, I don't like a movie murder mystery that lies to you, because then it doesn't play by its own rules to, Yeah,
because it's a fake mystery at that point. You can't actually solve it.
Yeah, if you're getting a breadcrumb that is a lie, then you're not playing fair.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And that's kind of the part here where this musical kind of has a twist and is built off a lie, but they give you breadcrumbs musically as well as just narratively. that you could pick
The
up on
story, like not the story, the show doesn't lie to you. One of the characters in the show lies to
another
character, and at first you're led to believe that, but really you find out later that they were lying. But there is hints that they were lying throughout. So
If you've watched the Sideways video on it, they did a really good deep dive, and also he mentions us by name in that video. That's how I met him.
Oh, really? There's other hints as well, beyond just the score. Like, obviously, it's easier to notice on like a second viewing, but like Mrs. Lovett is
don't I know you, Mister?
Yeah, there's that. There's Mrs. Lovett being very like not wanting this woman around ever, like to a point where it's kind of weird. Like, why is she so insistent that this person never is around? You know?
I agree, and also she is technically the first person Sweeney Todd meets in London too, which is also a dramatic irony. The first person he sees when off the boat is his wife.
And he doesn't notice.
Yeah, and that's on him. I want to talk about some of the songs we didn't do in our first original episode.
Okay.
I still hate Greenfinch and Linnet Bird. I am not talking about that. I would like to talk a little bit about Amos and ladies and their sensitivities.
Excuse me, my lord, may I request, my lord, permission, my lord, to speak? Forgive me if I suggest, my lord, you're looking less than your best, my lord. There's powder upon your vest, my lord, and stubble upon your cheek. And ladies, my lord, are weak. Ladies in their sensitivities, my lord, have a fragile sensibility. When a girl's emergent, probably it's urgent you defer to her gentility, my lord.
Oh boy.
What?
Oh, these two songs are so
Strange.
I like ladies and their sensitivities a little bit.
I like that a lot of it.
I don't know. It's not even my favorite Beatles song.
The lyrics are very funny.
It's not even my favorite Beatles song though.
Yeah, yours is Hey Jude, right?
No, I like it when he sings the parlor songs. They're very funny.
I know, they are very, very funny. But you said that in the original episode.
I did say that.
If one bell rings in our tower of Bray, ding dong, your true love will stay. Ding dong, one bell today in the tower of Bray. Ding dong.
But here I just didn't really appreciate how intricate all those pieces were until I saw this live on Broadway, where I'm like, man, this is difficult.
Really, after seeing it, I don't think there's a bad song in this whole fucking thing.
No, not at all.
Like, I don't know. It's just it's banger after banger, and even the worst, like
all bangers, no skip.
even like the worst, most pointless songs are still like when the Wigmaker song, like that. Even that's like catchy and like good. Like, come on. And that's like,
I mean, because it's Pretty Woman. It's like one of the few times they like have it's a connective tissue to that. It's manipulating another man to get what you want.
yeah, it's all good. It's
There's tawny and there's golden saffron. There's flaxen and there's blonde.
it's so good. Everything's so good.
Okay, there is one song I don't like, and this is where the dancing went too far. If you want my honest opinion.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay. This is like the moment I was like, okay.
I have to be the one that
this
pushes
is too
back.
much.
I don't know what it is though.
It is the letter sequence.
The letter sequence? Oh, yeah, maybe I don't even
We're
disagree. I don't really. That was such a short little thing.
It was such a ridiculous. I never really liked that moment where he's writing the letter and you have the ghost like narrating his letter.
Yeah, I feel like they could do that better.
And then they're just doing like these wild, intricate dance moves to his letter.
Also, who does he give the letter to?
In the movie actually made the smart choice of making him giving him the letter the trigger that brings Toby to confess to Mrs. Lovett about it. Like, that's like one of those smart narrative choices that movie makes.
I agree.
Here he just kind of gives it to someone.
Yeah, because Toby, well, it would make sense that Toby's suspicious regardless, because, I mean, where the fuck did Pirelli go, right? But in this, he doesn't really have like a trigger moment where he's like, oh shit, like I need to get Mrs. Lovett out of here because this is really, really sus, you know? He doesn't have that sussy baka moment.
No. I wish he did, because then we'd have some Breaking Bad references.
He doesn't have that moment where he realizes that there's an imposter among us.
More like an imposter among us.
No, but he just kind of hands it to nobody. Like he hands it to a ghost.
He hands it to a ghost and it takes off. Yeah, I really don't like the letter sequence. Never have.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be negative Nellies, I think they took a song that I'm like, about, and then made it worse in this revival.
This is like an incredibly short song, though, in between.
It is.
That's sandwiched in between like 800 bangers, though, so. You know what I'm disappointed about? I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to hear all 12 bells, you know?
Ding dong, ding dong.
How many bells are there? You know, I was thinking about it and doing the math. If he did all 12 bells, the last one it would be that his lover doesn't like him, right?
Right.
That's horrible. What a shitty ending for your song.
It's a real she loves me not moment.
Really?
His mom used to sing that to him and he was just a babe.
And that's why no girls like him.
I'm surprised that Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler didn't work together more outside of this.
Yeah, who is Hugh Wheeler? Did this guy do anything else? I've never heard this guy's name, I don't think.
He has to have. He seems like he has to be like a well-known playwright, like, right?
He's a British novelist.
He died in 1987.
Oh.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
And he did additional material for Pacific Overtures. So that was the only other collaboration outside of Sweeney Todd. Oh, and he did a little night music. You know what? Good for him.
Damn, died 87. He was
pretty old.
I guess
though.
he was pretty old. That's interesting that Sondheim was working with him.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how, because they worked together on Pacific Overtures a little bit. He was a consultant for the film version of Cabaret, not the stage version. And he won the Tony for Best Book for A Little Night Music and Candide. Good for him. What a career.
Yeah.
But my God, like, why? It would have been nice to see what else they work, because I think the book of this is deceptively great.
I don't even think it's deceptive. I just think it's really good.
I feel like a lot of people tend to overhype the power of Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim, which their dedication to the craft is very good, and what they've brought to this is incredible.
Oh, the songs are incredible, but if the book was terrible, then I think that this would not be the masterpiece that it is. It would just be kind of like a show that has really good songs, and then everything else is kind of eh.
As well, direction can really ruin a show. Like Parade is one of my favorite shows. I really didn't like what Hal Prince did with that production, the original production, and I thought it was bad. So direction is important, and the fact that Hal Prince directed that original version as well as he did really, really affected it. So everything that came to this turned into Josh Groban and a bunch of ghosts popping and locking around him. So thanks, Tommy Kail.
I do wish that they had the deafeningly loud whistle.
People did whine about not having the whistle.
I wanted the whistle. It's so fucking loud.
The whistle does wake you up.
I kind of like it though. Like it's so fucking piercing and like horrible to hear that like you kind of want it in those moments, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually plays every time someone gets their throat slit or dies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is missing, and it does feel like a little lump of this play is gone.
I can understand why they would want to change it though. It's a little bit I mean, it's harsh. It's really harsh. So
how dare this horror movie musical have scary elements?
It's true.
Let's think about this Tony season, Andrew. It's actually quite remarkable. We have Josh Groban back on Broadway, up against Ben Platt back on Broadway, and Christian Borle back on Broadway. And they're all going head-to-head for Best Actor again, which hadn't happened since Kevin Spacey hosted the Oscars, or the Tonys, all the way back in our very first recording session.
Who do you think is going to win?
Ben Platt.
You think so?
That being said, by the time this episode comes out, the Tony Awards will have happened, so we'll find out in real time whether my bet pays off.
I suppose we will.
But what was your overall thoughts on Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and your cheese rating?
It's really good. And honestly, the only negative thought I had coming out of it is just, why why isn't the movie like that? You know?
Yeah.
That was my negative thought, was just, damn, I wish that we had a movie version of this that was good. Or, well, not good. I actually think the Tim Burton movie is good. It's just not, it's not what I want, you know? It's not what I wanted out of it. I don't know how long the revival's playing for, but I'm sure it will still be running when this episode comes out. Go fucking see it.
Definitely.
Go fucking see it. It's fucking great.
It's a good time.
I really don't have very many negative things to say about it. I'm sure that if you compare it to older versions, there's some things that they fumbled the bag on or whatever, but overall they hit the mark. It's good. A cheese rating.
So fun fact, you never gave us cheese rating for this in our first episode, so this is your first and only cheese rating for Sweeney Todd.
Okay. Well, let's give it a fun one then. I almost want to just give it like a meat pie with cheese in it, but I don't even know if that's really a thing. You know?
That's a unpacked grilled cheese sandwich.
A cheesy meatloaf pie. That is a thing.
Gonna throw up.
This is a recipe I just found. I mean, and of course it has to be made with a long pork as well. If you catch my drift.
Could you got it? Take for instance, Mrs. Mooney has a pie shop. Okay, I do actually have a pitch for a gender bent Sweeney Todd, where I play Mr. Lovett. And I just want it to be like a real gross looking butcher, but every word is the same. Like I'm imagining like real kind of
just like I wouldn't want you to play it though. We have to get like a bear looking guy, you know, like a a big hairy guy that just wears an apron and nothing else under it.
Yeah. Like an apron, a white t-shirt, and they're both stained with blood.
They're both stained with blood
like
and sweat. Like the pit stains like a...
Yes.
Oi, a customer. Wait, what's your hutch? What's your hurry? I gave you such a... I thought you was a ghost half a minute. Can't you sit you down, sit?
Never seen without his like big butcher knife.
Yeah.
It's not a pie. It's not even a pie shop. He literally has like a back room with like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like hooks with like pigs stuck in them and shit.
And I just love the idea that person's one dream is to live by the sea.
With the fishy splashing down by the sea.
That's like the Tangled song, with I Have a Dream or whatever.
Yes.
With all the criminals.
Like, come on, let me produce this. I would do this. And the Sweeney Todd equivalent's just like a proper young woman, like, anything you say, anything you say.
Nah, it's a gay couple.
I'm your friend too, Mr. Todd. If you only knew, Mr. Todd. Oh, Mr. Todd, you're warm in my hand.
I think people would love this, but...
Seems a downright shame.
It will not happen.
Like, come on.
This will never happen. I'm sorry.
It won't. It's too good an idea. No one will let me do it.
That is true. What's your cheese rating?
I gotta give the same rating I gave the first time, which was mozzarella. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that interpretation. It's just too good for it to be anything else but mozzarella. That being said, thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals. We're on Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese, Patreon podcast, Patreon with Cheese. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our Keeper of the Cheese is Juliet Antonio. The show is edited by Andrew DeWolf. I know we already said our Keeper of the Cheese is Juliet Antonio, but I usually give them some ASMR, so I'm gonna give that to them. Meat pies are delicious, don't you think? All right. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for doing whatever the fuck that was. Andrew, is there anything else you have left to say?
I think we've covered it all.
Also, we need to pop and lock now, and because we are now dancing.
Pop it, lock it, polka dot it, country
Polka
fi
dot
it,
it,
hip-hop it.
country fi-
Speak to me, friend. Whisper, I listen. I know, you've been locked out of sight all these years. Like me, my friend, you raise me up so I can climb on mountains. You raise me up